And while I have much to say and little time to express it, I want to first and foremost say thank you to a lot of people and a lot of organizations. I look around and I see a lot of people to thank. Thank you, Stanford Hospital Valley Care. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. If it wasn't for the emergency people, if it wasn't for the surgeon, the nurses, those are the unsung heroes. So thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sawney. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, Doctor. And last, but certainly not least, Sandra, thank you. I have feeling in my fingers now because of Sandra. It's a wonderful thing. This latest chapter to my story began 2.5 years ago when I was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer, an incurable disease. My wife and I had recently retired, and we're looking forward to traveling the world. We had just come back from a trip from Basel, Switzerland to Amsterdam, and we had spent a week in Paris. We were planning on traveling the world, enjoying our grandchildren, and living the good life. It hasn't quite worked out that way. My wife and I have been going together since we were 15 years old. I think that's 53 years now, honey. We got married at 21 and we started a family at 25, all on the East Coast. We moved to Pleasanton 32 years ago and began our life here with 2 young children who went through the Pleasanton school system, graduated from Amador, and went on to get degrees at colleges locally. My son went to Cal Poly. My daughter's a teacher here in Pleasanton. They live close by, just 2 blocks away from where we live. So my wife and I have 6 grandchildren and our 2 kids that we see all the time. It's real nice. But then I was diagnosed, and kind of all of a sudden, death is staring at you in the face, and you kind of, well, I know for me, I wasn't ready for it. How long did I have to live? The doctor said I had a 50-50 chance of living 2 years. Okay. The treatment was going to be 12 treatments of intense chemotherapy, followed up with PET scans. And the doctor's office sat me down and Rita to tell us what we should expect when we went through chemotherapy. What were the side effects going to be? And there was a long list. And I think I experienced every single one of those side effects. One of the side effects was going to be permanent, possibly. And in my case, it was. I have what they call peripheral neuropathy. So the tips of my fingers and the soles of my feet are totally numb. Dr. Sawney suggested, well, maybe I should apply for a grant at the Sandra Wing Foundation. And I kind of wondered, how did I qualify to receive any kind of grant? But I went through the process, filled out the paperwork, and submitted it. And, well, I got an email within a few days that congratulating me that I received the grant. And then I got calls from the foundation trying to help me get the treatment that I needed. And if Scott Miller, if you're in the house somewhere, Scott called me all the time with follow-up calls to make sure this was going to work. While this was going on, in a way to get my mind off of what was ailing me, my wife and I decided we were going to redecorate our master bedroom. So we pulled up the carpet, we were going to paint, we were going to get new furniture, and I'm standing there scraping the window. I looked down. I was standing on the tackless strip that held the carpet down. I didn't realize it, and there's a pool of blood where my feet are. This is part of the stuff that you don't realize until it actually happens, the depth, I guess for me, of what was wrong. So I figured the best thing I could do with this treatment would be, and for me this is a stretch, to try acupuncture. You know, they stick needles in you. Sorry, Karen Goldman, if you're here, thank you, but I went to an acupuncturist and she put needles in my fingers and my toes. Now, my fingers are numb, so I didn't feel anything, and she's putting this in, and okay. So I got long things sticking out of my hands. It had to be that way for 20 minutes for each session. I went the first one, the second one. By the third one, she puts the needles in, and it's like, ah! And there's blood, and I said, what's going on? Well, she said, well, that's what's supposed to happen. You have feeling again. So, Sandra, thank you. I have feeling again. So I've made it past that 50-50 mark. I'm here 2.5 years later. The actuarial charts say if I make it past 5 years, something else besides cancer is going to be taking me. So 5 years is now the next goal that I have on my chart. The other part of my story is how cancer has affected my family. My grandson, who just turned 3 last month, was diagnosed with leukemia early last year. He's just completed successful CAR T-cell therapy at the Lucille Packard Children's Hospital, Stanford. So, Stanford, thank you again. As someone reminded me, I'm the oldest male in my family, and I have cancer, and my grandson is the youngest male in my family, and he has cancer. I've already lived most of my life, but my grandson hasn't even started, and it's not fair. And life isn't fair either, I guess, is it? But you know, when I sit in the chemo room and I go for therapy and I'm with my grandson, I look around at all the people and everybody seems to be on the same page. We're all working towards a common goal. Everybody's trying to help each other. And tonight, all of you are here for one reason, and that's to help this. It's a beautiful thing, and I want to thank you all for that. My battle continues. I was referred to as an all-star patient, a Hall of Fame patient when my scans came back clear. I've had a little setback, but I'm cautiously optimistic that my body will respond positively again, and I'll go back into remission again. So I just want to thank everyone for everything that you do. But most of all, I want to thank my girlfriend, my soulmate, my rock, and my angel, Rita. I love you, honey. Thank you, everyone, and have a good evening.